Okay, welcome. This is Enda here again. I'm going to do a tutorial, a demo on using Vray and Max for an exterior scene and comparing it to using Octane in Unity. And just to compare the render times, the different quality settings in both, for lights, for cameras, for environment, those three important settings. And so first, I'll open up the scene here in Max. So we have the Vray cam chosen, hit P on the keyboard, go into perspective, right? And we're going to adjust the camera settings, the Vray camera, Vray lights, and environment settings. You got to tweak those three parameters to achieve, say, a daylight scene, a night scene, overcast, bright sunlight. So what I've done ahead of time is, if you choose your camera, and instead of having to, if you want to choose your Vray camera, instead of going here, choosing your camera each time, moving the viewport perspective, just set up selection sets. So I've set up a selection set for the sun. When I choose sun, you can see parameters here on the right hand side for Vray sun, and also for Vray camera. You can see all the settings here. So if you click C on your keyboard, it'll bring you back into the Vray camera, physical camera, or the standard camera view. Okay, so we have this set up already with Vray. These are all the Vray settings. This won't be so much the Vray tutorial, just to show the comparisons between Unity and Vray. But basically, I've set up all my GI, global illumination, and my irradiance map is important, and light cache. Fine-tuning all these settings depending on your scene. It's an internal scene, external scene, depending on the scale of your scene also. So we have chosen view to render, Vray, and we've chosen production rendering. Okay, so what we got to do is first is to check the sun. So if we go up to the sun settings here on the right hand side, the most important settings here are the turbidity of the sun, the ozone, the intensity multiplier. Those three settings. The rest are pretty default. You can fine tune, but those are the three important settings. Next, you will have a look at, if you hit 8 on your keyboard, numerical 8, and now we can have a look at the environment map settings. You can either use the Vray sky. If you click M on your keyboard, it'll bring up the material editor. Here I've got the sky chosen. If you don't have that, choose an empty slot, choose the picker, the color, or actually drag across, right mouse click and drop it into a empty slot, create an instance, and here you've got your Vray map, your Vray sky. Okay, so we got our Vray sky. So you can either choose just this color background, the blue skies, or you can use the Vray map. And here again, just to show, select your Vray map, your Vray sky, sorry, drag and drop, instance, and in here you can change the sun intensity multiplier. So at the moment it's at 0.03. It's very delicate setting. If I put this at, say, 1, you've got whiteout, complete burnt out scene, and 0.5. If I put at 0.05, okay, so you've got a sunlight daytime scene. If I put at, say, 0.03, okay, so the settings again, the sun turbidity, ozone, and multiplier, important for the Vray sky. So that's Vray sky setting set up. The environment, for this scene, I'm just going to set to a standard blue sky with not a map with clouds, and I'm just setting it to standard blue. Keep it simple. And now We've chosen the sun. We've had a look at the V-Ray sky. That's the V-Ray sun. Now the V-Ray camera. This is the third element to fine-tune our scene. And what you got to look for here to make fine-tune adjustments is the aperture. Here, if you have to change the film speed, the f-stop number, and the shutter speed. So if you adjust these settings, balanced with the V-Ray sun settings, balanced with the sky settings, then you will achieve the lighting you need for your scene. So I've set these settings up already. If I hit quick render, okay, so I've chosen to render a section here. Let me cancel that for a moment. I notice there's an oddity above the building. Okay, that's right. Okay. Convert to edit with poly. And hit U on the keyboard and apply a procedural map. Okay, now to hit open render dialog window, and okay, we'll quick render again. Okay. Okay, this time it's going to render the entire scene. Okay, so this is the rendering in V-Ray. It's rendering quite fast. In this scene, I've only got the assets that are here in the foreground of the camera, so there are not any assets loading behind the camera or to the side. So this scene is really it's set up really just for taking still camera captures from the front from 45 degrees, or to pan across from left to right of this target feature building in the front. Okay, so we'll let that render for a moment, and we'll switch across to Unity. Okay, so with inside Unity, we've got our scene. Here we've got some of the materials using the scene. We're in game mode. If we hit scene mode, shift space for full size. Okay, and this is the environment that I've put together inside of Unity. I've added some 3D scan characters. Some of these are free to download online, and I've put in some background assets, some mountains. I've used some speed tree trees. Sorry, and I put in other props, cars, extra buildings. So this is the scene inside of Unity. This is an optimized scene, and everything's been textured. So what I want to show here is if I want to take a capture, say at this angle here of the scene. So when you're in scene mode, just rotate your camera to whatever angle you want. Just say I want to capture this angle here. Choose your camera, which is my main camera. Shift Control F. That locks the camera to view. Here in the preview, you can see that the game camera now is set to this point of view. Click on the game tab. Okay. I use Octane renderer, so if you want Octane, you have to go to the asset store. Here you got to type in Octane, download Octane, which I'm not going to do now for this video. Download Octane, right click here, create a PBR render target. When you've got that render target selected, this is the render target here. After it's created, you have to load Octane. There will be a button here. None of this will be present, none of these parameters. So you load Octane, and The settings you've got to check here are for the camera, so you got to make sure your main camera, right click and drag across is in the camera selection node. The select camera is set to game, so you can render from the editor, from the game, or you can set up whatever way you want to render. At the moment it's set for the game mode, which is here, so Octane will render this scene. Okay, so also what you have to check for here is another important settings is environment. Set up your sun, so this is the Unity sun attached here. Skybox material, you can leave that one, that's okay. Film settings are important. Here is setting your resolution. I've set 3000 by 2000 pixel resolution, and you can choose from here from different presets, from broadcast TV, digital camera, digital video, virtual reality, so whatever settings you need for your animation. And post-processing, we have post-processing here set up with the post-processing stack that comes built into Unity with the 3D template features, or you can add some bloom and glare and volumetric lighting here from inside of Octane. So they're the settings. Okay, that's fine. We can check here at the tab at the top. That's our PBR view. Okay, everything's set. Game view set. So yeah, basically they're the settings, the camera settings, the environment settings. Oh, inside of here you can adjust the sky turbidity and sun. This will overwrite some of Unity's light features if you enable within Octane. And max samples is important, so by default it's set on 500. So I step it up for this particular external scene to 2000. Okay, 2000. It'll render 2000 samples. Global illumination is turned on to ambient occlusion. You can fine-tune some of these settings. The ambient occlusion distance, I think it comes default 10, so you can increase or decrease depending on the interior exterior scene. Alpha shadows, alpha images. Yeah, you can find some tutorials online. You can find the help manuals, but definitely get to learn all of these settings. So we've got this. If you click render, and if you click view source, okay, so if I shut this down, view source, this is the main Octane Prime render window. This is the scene rendered, and as you can see, some nice depth of field, there's some nice some good resolution. Max samples is set. Okay, shit looks good. At the moment it's rendering, it's on 192 samples out of 2000, so the quality and the speed with which it renders is pretty impressive. So you can compare this with all the lighting textures set up in Unity, and if we go back into Max, you can see Vray is still rendering this scene at the same resolution. The lighting is set differently here. The lighting is set for late evening, but a similar scene, similar light settings. So yeah, V-Ray takes quite a while, and that's just for one single frame. So if you're creating an animation or a target sequence, for sure it can take many hours or many days rendering with V-Ray. Whereas with Octane, you could render this full scene, say 30 second or 1 minute fly through or walk around, say within 2 hours. And also the advantage of having it inside of Unity is that I can just drop a character in, and straight away that's a third person character that can, through gaming controls and a keyboard, can run around the scene. Also, it can be set up for VR. The scene is optimized for VR or for an AR projection. So you get You get character gain control, you get VR, you get AR, and you can render out as an MP4. The same quality settings, but a lot more advantages compared to Vray and Max, in my view. Vray and Max is great just for a still shot, but nothing beats Unity for speed. So let's choose a little character here. Shift space on the keyboard, F to zoom in on the target, and this scene is VR ready. It's VR ready, and also I can add my third-person character, which is skinned and rigged. These are just static 3D scans you can get from online, and that is, if we zoom out, you can see that it's a very basic scene. It's a low poly scene. Okay, so that's the comparison between Vray and Max, or Octane render in Unity game engine. Okay, thank you for your time, and the next tutorial I will demo how to set up the 3D person within this scene live, and also I'll set up the VR teleportation. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, just as a little extra, after showing that tutorial, I want to show you how to composite using After Effects. The video recording captured from OBS Studio, and the sound recording I recorded just on my phone, so connected to the PC. So I'll show you how to use After Effects just to set up that very quickly. This is, now you're looking at the Octane Prime window. We'll shut that down. This is the city block in Unity, of course. And that was the Max scene, the Vray Max scene. So now open up a fourth piece of software, which is After Effects, Adobe After Effects. In here I've already taken in you right click, import file. I've imported my OBS capture from the tutorial beforehand, and my recording from the phone, drag and drop, brought into new composition. So when you open up After Effects, first you got to set up, save the project, and then open a new composition, and then set the composition to whatever preset you prefer, HD, mobile. I've set this at 1920, 1080. I've set it for 30 frames a second, and I've set it for, you can set for any time you want here, but I've set it for 20 minutes and 30 seconds, just to give me enough space on my timeline. Okay, so anyway, this is composition 2. We've set up beforehand. Let me see what I got to show you inside of here. When you take your video file, when you drag and drop your video file into your comp window, hit T on your keyboard, choose your file, hit T, and hit I for input, hit O for output, I for input, O for output. So go for input and set your opacity to a 3 second transition. So I've set my opacity here, I for input at 0%, and then if you take it up then to say, actually take it back to the beginning, the sound doesn't matter, input, and say after 4 seconds 100% opacity. Okay, so that's transition from dark to light. And the same for the output. Set up your 2 keyframes, your opacity keyframes. Okay, the same for the sound. With the sound file, you're going to set up keyframes for the audio levels. So if we choose the frame input, we've got to match it up with our video. So now we got our video and audio, and in here you can set the if we just delete that for a moment, and we'll set the click eye for input, and there we go. We'll drop down our decibel level, and then again after 2 seconds increase the decibel level. Okay, so that's between the opacity and the decibel level for both video and sound. Next thing we got to do is select both, move them down 2 or 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and we will if we go up to layer, we got to put in some text. So if we click off those 2 layers, up to the layer tab, new text, and then you can type in your tutorial heading. So if here I have Vray in 3dsMax compared to Octane in Unity 3D. Okay, simple as that. So you get your title screen. Here it is interfering with the background, so what we can do is, so also you can tween that as well for opacity. So I want to put a black support box behind that, so click on layer again, new solid layer, new solid layer, black, choose black color. Okay, that's fine, and then we can just adjust that, and we can drop it behind the text like so, and then you can have this linked to the text above, and you can have this animating between. Choose both of our, let me see, the cutoff point is here. So if we choose our text and our solid layer, edit, split layer, and dump, hit delete. Okay, so then we have our video, and beforehand we have our intro screen. Okay, or we can have the text overlay on top and set up our, again, if you choose the text layer, I, T, opacity, set keyframe, down a couple of seconds, increase the opacity. So we've got that. Actually, we don't need that for a moment, so we can turn off the solid layer. Again, output, 0 opacity, take it back a couple of seconds on 100% opacity. So we got fade from black, start off, we got our title, move your title to central composition, and then fade into the tutorial. Okay, before this tutorial gets too long, that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. That's compositing in After Effects.